So the first thing the government should do today, in the minister addressing this parliament, is to acknowledge that as a government, we are in breach of the law.
Blessed morning, my people. Welcome back to the channel. So in this segment, we're speaking on a long-awaited by-election that was supposed to take place in St. Thomas following the death of Councillor Rowan Bryan almost 3 months ago. Bryan was serving his second term and he died on May 1st after an ongoing battle with a heart condition. And according to the Local Governance Act, my people, that by-election was supposed to take place 3 months prior to it being recorded in the minutes. And remember, this was from May the 9th that it was mentioned. And so Section 4.5 of the 2016 Local Governance Act states that a by-election to fill a vacancy in any electoral division must be held the day the chairperson of the municipal corporation directs by order published in the Gazette after consultation with the Chief Electoral Office. Right? Section 4.5a and b indicate that this must be within 3 months after the vacancy has been entered in the minutes of the council, or a day within 3 months after notice in writing of the occurrence of the vacancy has been given to the chairperson of the municipal corporation by 2 persons who were entitled to vote at the last election of a councillor for that electoral division. And to this date, my people, all know we can't hear of a date for that by-election. The Act further states that no by-election is to be held if a vacancy occurs within 1 year before the next general election. General election in the Local Governance Act is defined as the general election of councillors. Jamaicans last voted in a local government election in February of this year. However, the Director of Elections, Glasspool Brown, told news media that he has not been consulted regarding a date for the by-election as required by law and has not yet submitted a budget for it. Political commentator Lloyd B. Smith stated that the absence of any communication from the mayor is a disservice to the residents of the division, noting that it is customary for a party to hesitate to announce a by-election close to a general election. He indicated that the national polls that are constitutionally due September 2025 may be announced early next year. Any election that is held now is going to be perceived as a referendum against or for the government. It could send a wrong signal, for example, if the JLP should not triumph. On the other hand, if the PNP should prevail, then it would suggest the PNP is moving in on the JLP in terms of overall political support. So I think that is the backdrop to all of this. So in basically I said to some people that the Jamaica Labour Party are scared to call this by-election. He further added that the mayor in his capacity as chairperson of the municipal corporation should act within the laws and regulations and govern the corporation. He said, get it over with. It is unfair to the people, and especially at this time in the aftermath of burial, when the people need to have their local representative to represent them fully and effectively, it is a disservice to the people. It also shows a lack of regard and respect for the democratic process. Paul Ashley has pointed to the PNP, arguing that the absence of impetus for a replacement indicates that the opposition party's focus is on general election. It appears to be the party's only concern at this time. And with this recent poll, my people, the momentum for the PNP is up. So the JLP in a no rush anytime soon to call this by-election. But I'm going to make you hear this showdown we're going between Edmund Bartlett and Philip Paulwell as it pertains to them amending a bill that they showed in the House of Representatives to the opposition for the first time to extend the date for the by-election in St. Thomas.
I submit for the consideration of this Honorable House a bill entitled An Act to Amend the Representation of the People's Act to allow for the period within which a by-election shall be held in the electoral division within the area of jurisdiction of a municipal corporation to be extended beyond the period of 3 months specified in paragraph 4, 5, A, and B of the 8th schedule of the Act, for a period to be determined by the Minister with responsibility for electoral matters not to exceed 90 days in the event of any of the occurrences specified in paragraph 11, 1A to E of the 8th schedule of the Act. Madam Speaker, the circumstances as specified in paragraph 11(1)(a) to E of the 8th schedule of the Act are as follows. 1. The government having become engaged or being likely to become engaged in any war. 2. There being in force a proclamation that a state of public emergency or a state of public disorder exists under Section 20 of the Constitution of Jamaica. 3. The occurrence of any earthquake, hurricane, flood, fire, outbreak of pestilence, or outbreak of infectious disease, or other calamity, whether similar to the foregoing or not. Fourthly, the likelihood that the official list of all electoral divisions or for any particular electoral division will not be printed before the day specified for the holding of the poll, or that any essential electoral supplies or materials will not be available in adequate quantities upon such day, or fifthly, riot, open violence, or other civil disobedience resulting in such interruptions, obstruction, or abandonment of the electoral process as to prejudice the holding of a fair election. Madam Speaker, paragraph 11 of the 8th schedule allows for the holding of a by-election to fill a vacancy in the electoral division of a municipal corporation to be postponed due to the occurrence of an event, where the event occurs after a date has been specified for the holding of the by-election, but before the date on which the by-election is to be held. So there is currently, however, Madam Speaker, no provision that allows for an extension of the period limited under paragraph 4(5) of the 8th schedule of the Act for the holding of such a by-election where, and this is important, where the event occurs before the date for the holding of the by-election has been specified.
Madam Speaker, we're deeply concerned because today the government is in breach of the law that they're seeking to amend. Today, the government is in breach of the law. The government is operating unlawfully in relation to this matter. And let me say why. The current law allows for, on the death of a councillor, for the municipality to be notified, and on notification, within 90 days, an election to replace that councillor must be called and held. And held. The notice was given to the St. Thomas Parish Council on the 9th of May, Councillor Bryan having passed on the 30th of April. So by that law, by this law, the elections ought to be held by the 9th of August. There's no way that can happen today, because in holding an elections, you have to have regard for nomination day, which is normally 5 days after announcement, and then within 16 minimum 16 days for the elections to be held. It can't be held now.
On the 23rd of July.
Can be called today on the 23rd of July for it to be held on the 9th of August. So the first thing the government should do today in the minister addressing this parliament is to acknowledge that as a government we are in breach of the law. And that cannot be right. The government cannot be breaking its own law. It is wrong. So that's the first matter. Madam Speaker, that very law would have allowed the government, if they had called the election on the Advent event of burial, to postpone the elections for 30 days
Beyond the election date.
beyond the date. That is the law.
11.
So if within that 90-day period, the government had called the election and burial came, then the government could extend by 30 days
9th of September.
that election. Today, the day when we, I believe, go off on our summer recess, we see another rushed bit of legislation coming. We are just having sight of it today.
Yeah. Bills just
We are just having sight of it today.
Yeah. Chaka, chaka.
Right? Chaka chaka indeed. So we are going to see a bill, the first time we're seeing it, tabled today, rush it through today. Total disrespect for us inside here. Total disrespect for the institution of local government. But it's more than that, Madam Speaker. This bill is seeking not to give an extension of 30 days, but 90 days. And it seems as if it is the minister is to give this extension.
Who has no role in the process before.
The minister has no role because the person who is by law to call the by-election is the chairman of the municipality.
Having consulted with the director of elections.
And having consulted with the director of elections.
How the minister comes to
So what do we have here? Another instance of the erosion and overreach in the way elections are conducted. And you know, we have warned already about tampering with the framework that we have built up with tremendous trust and faith over many decades after coming through some period of turbulence. And we cannot be tampering with the law in this way. First of all, there should have been consultation with the opposition.
Absolutely.
There should have been consultation with the opposition. That hasn't happened on a matter like this. Have you consulted as well with the electoral office? Have you advised them? Because by right they should have been advised when the notice was given on the 9th of May of an election, so that they could have prepared a budget. My understanding is that they did not. There was no consultation with the ECJ or the EOJ, right? Because there was no intention to call election. So, Madam Speaker, the people of Morant Bay want representation. They want it especially now because of the burden cast on them by the advent of burial. So by putting off by 90 days their right to have their own parish councillor,
90 plus 90.
it's a disgrace, and it is unfair for the people of Morant Bay who are entitled to having their representative in the parish council. So, Madam Speaker, we are not supporting this bill today. I have stated the reasons, and as an opposition, we are taking strong exception again to the way that this is being done.
And some people, following the introduction of that bill and the resistance from the opposition, the government used its majority in the House of Representatives to pass the bill that will delay for 3 months the holding of a by-election to replace former Morant Bay councillor Rowan Bryan. The bill was passed after 25 government members voted in favor of an amendment to paragraph 4.5 of the 8th schedule of the Representation of the People Act, ROPA, while 8 opposition members voted against it. 28 legislators were absent for the vote, including Prime Minister Andrew Holness, the minister with responsibility for the Representation of the People's Act, ROPA. And so instead of extending the date by 30 days, it's extended by 90 days without any form of consultation. Some want to hear from one of my people based on everything that was said so far. In this segment now, we've seen Mark Golding addressing a question from a supporter of the Anisabel Rose movement from this channel, Evelyn Meikle, as it pertains to the water crisis that has been ongoing for some time now, even before the passage of Hurricane Beryl.
Yes, Evelyn Meikle had asked about the water crisis, and we know that this is a perennial problem, year-to-year problem in Jamaica, where many communities suffer during some of the months of the year where there is not much rainfall and water supply is low. And it's a very painful and frustrating time. Now, what can we do about that? Well, we have to invest in our water infrastructure. We need to establish connections and linkages between the pumping stations, because there are parts of the island where there's more than enough water, and there are other parts which have none. And we need to be able to distribute the water across the island easily so that we can increase the supply available to everyone. And that's going to require some proper planning and investment to do it. Furthermore, we need to protect our environment. So over the medium to long term, we still have water in Jamaica that we can enjoy. And we've been blessed. We were the land of wood and water, but we have been very tardy in respecting our environment and protecting our watershed areas. Those are the areas where the trees and other vegetation grow in abundance and help to encourage the formation of water in the clouds and the rainfalls, and then it goes down into what's called the aquifer, which is the underground storage, natural storage of water, which then feeds through into the streams and rivers and provides us with ample water. We need to protect the watershed areas. We need to protect our rivers and stop polluting them. The Rio Cobre has been the victim, and the people who live along the Rio Cobre and rely on the Rio Cobre, whether for recreational opportunities or for fishing, they have suffered from frequent, regular discharge of toxic waste into the beautiful, pristine Rio Cobre. It has to stop. And NEPA needs to be far more vigilant and serious. And the laws need to be updated so the penalties for that kind of thing are meaningful and provide a real deterrent, so that businesses can't make a calculation and say, well, let me just get rid of this waste, because to do something else would cost me more money, and I can push it into the river, and if they even find me, it's a little smalls and nothing will happen. No, we need to really make change to that kind of behavior, so people will say, no, sir, I'll test that on. I'm going to dispose of my waste in an environmentally responsible way. The last point I'd make on this is to do with trucking of water. We know that every year there are many communities, rural and urban communities, where water supply is a real problem for the people. There needs to be proper planning and adequate provision in the budget each year so that those areas can be serviced by water being trucked to them. And it needs to be done on an affordable basis. When the PNP was in office, we had a thing called a rapid response system with trucks that could carry water that were water to the communities and didn't charge for it. Now, we have to kind of go cap in hand quite often to the minister and beg him for an allocation so we can help our people. And that is not through a proper arrangement in terms of being budgeted in advance and available to all who need it, but rather it's being done on an ad hoc basis, on a one-on-one kind of thing. which is really not ideal. Although we're very grateful when the minister does give us some support so we can provide those, we can put those trucks in place and truck the water to people. That's not an ideal system. It needs to be done openly and transparently and fairly across the board.
However, my good and faithful viewers and subscribers, I want to hear for 2 cents in the comment section. Drop on the comments and make a reason about everything that was outlined in this video. And remember that this is not the only by-election that needs to be held. What about the one of the North Trelawney division where Marissa Dalrymple-Philibert has resigned as MP? And that has been almost a year now, my people, and still no by-election for that area. So I'm wondering if they will, recruit back her to come in that post. I am not sure how that will work. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, or on over to my other platform, Facebook and TikTok. Follow me over there at Anisabel Rose. Check out the YouTube store, make a purchase, it goes in support of the channel. Check out the YouTube membership. You get a lot of benefits by becoming a member. Only a small fee to be a member of the Anisabel Rose movement. Member shout out goes to Angela and Ivan Wallace, and look beside them name of people, and you can see them badge. They stand out amongst the rest. Returning subscribers, big up on yourself. Thanks for the support. New subscribers, welcome on board. New viewers, come on board, journey with me, join the family. Subscribe to the channel, like up the videos, share out the videos. Support the ABR movement by playing your part. On the road to 20K, as you all come on the videos, please to like and share them out. Stay tuned for more videos, stay tuned for more updates. Big up on yourself.